From overspending to corruption, the road to bankrupting a country is paved with financial mismanagement. Hello and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we'll be discussing a very important topic: how to bankrupt a country. Bankruptcy of a country is a state where a country's financial situation becomes so dire that it cannot meet its financial obligations, which can lead to a wide range of negative consequences, such as economic turmoil, social unrest, and even political instability. In this video, we'll discuss what it means to bankrupt a country, the ways in which a country can become bankrupt, and the factors that contribute to this phenomenon. What does it mean to bankrupt a country? Before we dive into the ways in which a country can become bankrupt, it's important to understand what it means to bankrupt a country. Bankruptcy of a country occurs when a country is unable to pay its debts or meet its financial obligations. This can happen when a country's government spends more money than it takes in through taxes and other revenue sources. As a result, the country will have to borrow money to make up the difference. And if it continues to do so without any means of paying it back, it can lead to a state of bankruptcy. Now, let's take a look at some of the ways to bankrupt a country. Number 1. Overspending. One of the most common ways in which a country can become bankrupt is through overspending. It occurs when a country's government spends more money than it takes in through taxes and other revenue sources. Overspending can be a result of various factors, such as a lack of fiscal discipline, an excessive focus on short-term goals, or a failure to prioritize spending. When a government overspends, it creates a budget deficit, which means that the country has to borrow money to make up the difference. If the deficit continues to grow over time, it can become unsustainable and lead to a state of bankruptcy. This is because the country will have to borrow more and more money to pay off its existing debts and meet its ongoing financial obligations, which can lead to a cycle of ever-increasing debt and interest payments. Overspending can also have other negative consequences beyond bankruptcy. It can lead to inflation, currency devaluation, and a decrease in the country's credit rating, which can make it more difficult and expensive to borrow money in the future. Overspending can also divert resources away from more productive uses, such as investment in infrastructure, education, or healthcare. To prevent overspending from leading to bankruptcy, governments can take several steps. One is to implement fiscal discipline by balancing the budget and prioritizing spending on essential services. Another is to promote economic growth through policies that encourage investment, job creation, and innovation. Number 2, economic shock. Another way in which a country can become bankrupt is through an economic shock. Economic shocks are unexpected events that cause a country's economy to contract rapidly. This can be due to a variety of factors, such as a natural disaster, a global recession, or a sudden drop in commodity prices. When an economic shock occurs, it can lead to a decline in economic output, a decrease in government revenue, and an increase in unemployment. This can create a downward spiral of economic decline, which can lead to a state of bankruptcy. The shock can also lead to a depletion of the country's financial reserves, making it difficult for the government to meet its financial obligations. Economic shocks can have other negative consequences beyond bankruptcy. It can lead to social unrest, political instability, and a loss of confidence in the country's economic prospects. This can discourage foreign investment and further exacerbate the country's economic problems. To prevent economic shocks from leading to bankruptcy, governments can take several steps. One is to implement policies that promote economic diversification, which can help to reduce the impact of external shocks. Another is to maintain a healthy level of foreign reserves, which can help to cushion the country's economy against external shocks. Governments can also implement counter-cyclical policies, such as fiscal stimulus or monetary easing, to mitigate the negative impact of economic shocks. Number 3. Corruption. Corruption is another factor that can contribute to a country's bankruptcy. Corruption occurs when individuals in positions of power abuse their authority for personal gain. This can include embezzlement, bribery, and other forms of illegal or unethical behavior. When corruption's rampant, it can lead to a misallocation of resources, a decrease in public trust, and a lack of accountability in the government. This can make it difficult for the government to collect taxes and other revenue, which can lead to a budget deficit and a state of bankruptcy. Corruption can also have other negative consequences beyond bankruptcy. It can lead to a decrease in foreign investment, a decrease in economic growth, and a deterioration of the rule of law. This can make it difficult for the country to attract investment, create jobs, and provide essential services to its citizens. To prevent corruption from leading to bankruptcy, governments can take several steps. One is to implement transparency and accountability measures, such as auditing, reporting requirements, and whistleblower protections. Number 4. Unfunded liabilities. Unfunded liabilities are another way in which a country can become bankrupt. Unfunded liabilities refer to the financial obligations that a government has to its citizens, such as pensions and healthcare benefits, but which are not fully funded. This means that the government does not have enough money set aside to cover these obligations in the long term. When unfunded liabilities are high, it can create a significant financial burden on the government, which can lead to a state of bankruptcy. This is because the government will have to borrow money or raise taxes to meet these obligations, which can lead to a budget deficit and an increase in the national debt. Unfunded liabilities can also have other negative consequences beyond bankruptcy. They can lead to a decrease in public trust and confidence in the government's ability to provide essential services. This can make it difficult for the government to attract investment, create jobs, and provide for the basic needs of its citizens. To prevent unfunded liabilities from leading to bankruptcy, governments can take several steps. One is to implement fiscal discipline and ensure that spending is sustainable over the long term. Another is to reform entitlement programs and create a more sustainable funding mechanism for pensions and healthcare benefits. Governments can also work to increase revenue through tax reform or economic growth. Number 5. Other factors. There are several other factors that can contribute to a country becoming bankrupt. These factors can be structural, political, or external in nature. Structural factors refer to the underlying economic conditions and demographics of a country. For example, if a country has a rapidly aging population, it may have higher healthcare and pension costs, which can lead to a budget deficit and a state of bankruptcy. Similarly, if a country is heavily reliant on a single industry, such as oil or mining, a drop in commodity prices can lead to a decrease in government revenue and a state of bankruptcy. Political factors refer to the governance and policy decisions of a country. For example, if a government is unstable or ineffective, it may have difficulty implementing fiscal discipline or attracting foreign investment. Similarly, if a government engages in policies that are detrimental to economic growth, such as protectionism or excessive regulation, it can lead to a decrease in investment and a state of bankruptcy. External factors refer to events outside of a country's control that can have a significant impact on its economy. For example, a global recession or financial crisis can lead to a decrease in demand for exports and a decrease in government revenue. Similarly, a natural disaster or conflict can lead to a decrease in economic output and an increase in government spending. Bankruptcies of countries can have a wide range of negative consequences, such as economic turmoil, social unrest, and even political instability. In this video, we discussed what it means to bankrupt a country, the ways in which a country can become bankrupt, and the factors that contribute to this phenomenon. It's important for governments to be aware of these factors and take steps to address them in order to prevent a state of bankruptcy from occurring. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.